Okay, and today we're going to be taking a look at the MK RTA by Acevape Tech. This product was sent to me for the purpose of this review. Let's go ahead, open up the package, and see what it comes with. So when you open up your package, you're going to have a little manual here. This is your MK RTA user manual. It's going to show you the instructions on how to screw the deck into the tank. Yes, it is one of those RTAs that you have to remove it from the mod to be able to screw the deck into the tank. And on the other side, it shows some coil recommendations. For a single coil, you want to use a 3.5 or greater millimeter coil diameter, and for dual coil, it suggests 3 millimeter or less. The first thing we see in the package is you're going to get a spare drip tip here with a 510 drip tip adapter and spare O-rings, as well as some spare post screws, a spare bubble glass for the RTA, and an Allen key. Alright, so go over some specifications of this. This is a dual coil RTA. It is 3 ml juice capacity with the straight glass, 5 ml juice capacity with the bubble glass. It is a top airflow RTA. The postless build deck does support both single and dual coil. Let's go ahead and take a look at the top here. You have this very wide bore opening with a Delrin drip tip on there, and it is one of those drip tips that are inset, so it presses over and covers that lip of the catch cup. So be aware that certain drip tips may not look very nice on there. Let me go ahead and grab another 810 drip tip for you. So here I have an 810 drip tip that came with the Rebirth RTA, one of my favorite colors, purple. Let's go ahead and put it on there. It fits nice and snug, and it does sit flush with that catch cup. So let's go ahead and measure that lip of the catch cup. So the outer diameter of that catch cup is going to be 18.5 millimeters. So any drip tip that measures larger than 18.5 millimeters is going to have some overhang on that catch cup. And of course, anything smaller than 18.5 millimeters will sit inside of that catch cup there, right there. So there's your opening. Let's go ahead and replace with the black Delrin. Now the color that I received is this matte gold color. It isn't a polished, so it doesn't have like a high gloss finish. It's more of a matte finish. Here on one side of the barrel you can see the crossed battle axe and hammer there. That's the MK logo, and nothing on the other side. As I said, it has top dual adjustable airflow, so whatever you adjust on one side, it will adjust on the other. The airflow is a little stiff, but not too bad. I imagine it's going to loosen up as it gets some e-liquid on it. Opening up the top here, we'll remove the top cap, and that's going to expose your fill port. So that is top fill with those very nice large openings for filling the RTA. So here's the bottom of the RTA. As I said, it's 25 millimeters in diameter. You do have a very nice, very long protruding 510 pin. That 510 pin protrudes so much that I would imagine you may have some problems on certain mods getting that to sit flush. We'll test that out here in just a moment. Let's go ahead and open up the base. So you'll feel a bit of resistance on the base as you're turning it, and that is because this is a spinning deck. Just like with the Dead Rabbit RTA, you will find some similarities here. They are both top airflow. They have a spinning base, a locking base at that. That's why that base spins. As you can see down there in the barrel, you have a little track, and that coordinates with these little notches on the side of the deck, and that allows the deck to lock into place so that your airflow is always aligned correctly to hit your coils. So it does come with hex key grub screws installed, so we'll need to use our hex key to open up those screws. The screws feel good, everything unscrewing, no problem. Nothing feels cross-threaded. So if you ever lose your hex key, something you can pick up on Amazon or at your local Harbor Freight, or these little Wera drivers here. This is the 1.3, just for noting. If you lose your hex key, any 1.3 hex key will fit there. So there we go. We've opened up the screws. Let's go ahead and turn this down on a base. Alright, so now that I have it screwed down here, you can see there is a wicking channel on both sides. This is going to be where you tuck your wicks, so your coils are going to go in this direction. You have your positive and your negative block. Everything here is plated in this gold. Now, I'm not sure if it's gold plating or just a gold paint on there. I would hope that everything on the inside is gold plated, because we don't want any of that flaking off on us. But scratching it, everything looks to seem be okay. None of the paint seems to be coming off on it. So when you install your coils and you tuck your wicks in, you'll see that your wicks drop down in here, and this is going to be the juice flow inlet, and that's where e-liquid's going to flow to your wicks and up to your coils. Let's go ahead and put some coils in here. So the coils that I'll be using in here today are nothing fancy. They're made by Vapeaholics Anonymous, and these are going to be just some simple fused Claptons. I didn't want to do anything big in this RTA to start out with. So these are just going to be some 2x26 gauge wrapped in 36 gauge Nichrome 80 fused Claptons. So these are 3mm diameter 6 wraps, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my coily tool to pre-measure my leads. Since this is a postless deck, we're going to need to pre-cut our leads. So starting out, I'm going to go ahead and use the 5mm setting here on the coily tool first, and if I need, I'll clip them shorter after. Alright, now that I've pre-clipped my leads to 5mm in length, let's go ahead and we should be able to just drop them in to install them and see how they sit. I've got both my coils sitting down in the post. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just place my finger on top of those coils to hold them down and tighten the post screws. Alright, so they're installed. Simple enough. Now I'll just go ahead and straighten my coils out. And then what I want to do before I do anything else, I'm going to go ahead and sit this down and measure it, just to make sure that my coils are not going to be touching the chimney in there. So I am shorting out there on the chimney at the top edge of my coils. These are 6 wrap. So because the inside of that chimney is conical, I have to be careful that the tops of my coils aren't touching anywhere in there. So I'm going to go ahead, remove the coils, cut another millimeter off, and drop them back in. So I went ahead and recut the leads and took that down from 5mm to 4.5mm leads. It's looking like it's sitting pretty flush there. I'm ohming out to a 0.1 before firing. Alright, so we got our coils glowing evenly. Now let's go ahead and wick it and juice it. And I'll be using cotton threads for wicking today. And I'm cutting the cotton right there at that bottom lip here of the airflow right there, so that my wicks will tuck down right kind of below those threads you see there. Right there below that threading is where I'm cutting my wick. Okay, so now I have all my cotton tucked in. Now you can't really see it from the bottom there. It comes right to those threads. So if I tilt it there, you can see the bottom of my cotton. But it definitely comes down into that ring and sits right there flush with those threads. You could, of course, drop it down a little lower. I'm not too worried about leaking with this one, so I'm going to wick it more on the lighter side than the heavier side. And if I find that it needs more wicking, I'll definitely let you know in the up top after I've been vaping on this for a while and trying out several different builds. So I am going to go ahead and pre-juice this up. I'm going to go ahead and prime these coils with e-liquid a little bit. Get it nice and saturated. And then the part that's no fun, I have to take this off of my mod and screw the tank on. So to screw the tank on, you're going to want to line up the notches on the deck with the cutouts on the inside there. Kind of give it a spin back and forth until you feel it catch. And once you feel it lock into place, you can go ahead and give it a turn. And it is going to be really stiff because of the O-ring there at the base. Tighten that down nice and tight, and then we can go ahead and screw it down on our mod. And there we go. Despite that very long 510 pin, it is sitting nice and flush on the Sigelei Cronus mod. Let's go ahead and open the top. Okay, just want to note, when I was filling the tank here, despite it having two very large openings, the tip of the bottle, when you push it down into the hole, it actually is very close to that center barrel there, so you can actually get e-liquid kind of spitting back up at you. So just be careful when you fill this tank that you don't try to squeeze the bottle too hard, too much pressure, and that e-liquid's going to bounce off of that center chamber and come right back up out of there. All right, and that is the MK RTA by Acevape Tech. Let's go back up top, have a vape on it, and I'll give you my thoughts and opinions. Okay, and that was an up-close look at the MK RTA by Acevape. So what are my thoughts? Well, let's get right into the pros first. First pro is going to be the fit and finish on this tank. I had no problems with threading or anything of that sort. All of the accessories are in good condition. O-rings, good condition. So fit and finish, A+ on that. Next is going to be the accessories. The fact that they include a spare glass as well as a 510 drip tip adapter in case you don't want to use an 810 drip tip, which I definitely can say with this particular RTA, you could easily use a 510 drip tip because of the restrictive airflow, which leads into my next pro on this RTA is that it is top airflow and therefore leak proof. So even with wicking it quite sloppy and quite loose, I found that I'm not able to make this RTA leak, and that's because of the airflow system and the fact that it's top airflow. Now, this RTA reminds me very much so of another RTA, the Dead Rabbit RTA, which I reviewed. They're very similar in style, they're very similar in the airflow, the build deck, the way that the deck screws into the chimney, all of those things are very similar. The notch that's in the build deck, all of those things. And for good reason. It's a good RTA in my opinion. Next pro is going to be that it's a 5 ml capacity, so you're going to be able to put a lot of e-liquid, and for good reason, because this is a 25 millimeter dual coil RTA. Mind you though, it is dual coil, but they do show you instructions on how to do single coil, so you can most definitely put a nice big beefy single coil in here or a dual coil. That's a big pro. Now let's kind of talk about a subjective con. A subjective con is going to be that there's not a lot of color options. I believe the color options they have are black, silver, gold, and I think they do a blue color as well. So you don't get a lot of choices as far as colors. The next con I have for it is less of a subjective and more of a hard con, and it's the same con I had for that Dead Rabbit RTA, and that's that because of the way the base locks in, and I understand why they had to do that, is that the airflow is always at the correct angle to hit the coils, so you're getting that really good flavor. But it's a con because I have to remove everything off of a mod. It can't be screwed down on any kind of base if I want to take apart the tank or assemble the tank. So I literally, that's an extra step that I have to go through in order to be able to build this. Now, is it worth the extra step? In my opinion, yes. I think that this RTA is a good RTA. The flavor on it is solid. It's a bit of a restricted airflow. I have it wide open. I'll go ahead and let you hear. Good vapor production. The flavor is there. I do prefer bottom airflow RTAs for flavor. I feel like I do get more flavor on bottom RTAs than I do for top, but the flavor on this one is good and the airflow is good. It doesn't feel turbulent. It is restrictive, even wide open. I would say this is more restrictive than the Dead Rabbit RTA's airflow, since I am comparing them quite a bit because there are a lot of similarities. This one definitely has more restricted airflow than the Dead Rabbit RTA. So just be, if you were looking at the Dead Rabbit RTA and maybe comparing these two, I will say this one has more restrictive airflow on it. So that's my thoughts on the MK RTA by Acevape. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're not already, click that little subscribe button. And if you are subscribed, don't forget to hit the little bell icon so you get notified the next time I upload a video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, bye-bye.